Welcome to Politics Unplugged. I'm Ann Trujillo, and it may be the weekend after the 4th of July, but it has been a busy week for politics. President Trump says he's going to announce his choice for a new Supreme Court justice tomorrow. His staff said he talked with more than a half dozen candidates this past week, and we're told none from Colorado. Justice Anthony Kennedy is retiring at the end of the month, and whoever the president picks as a replacement likely faces a big confirmation battle. Now, here in Colorado, we are learning more about the races that we will be voting on in November, specifically the governor's race. Democratic candidate for governor Jared Polis says his lieutenant governor running mate will be Diane Primavera. She is a cancer survivor and CEO of Susan G. Komen, Colorado. And Republican candidate Walker Stapleton is expected to announce his running mate in the coming days. He has asked someone to join him on the ticket. That person has accepted, and his campaign said an announcement will happen soon. And one of the last races to be decided was the Democratic race to be the candidate for Attorney General. It was last Saturday before Joe Salazar conceded the race to Phil Weiser. It was a squeaker, Weiser winning the primary by just a few thousand votes, and we now know in November Phil Weiser will face George Brockler, the district attorney for the 18th Judicial District and one-time candidate for governor. And one of these two men will become our next Attorney General for the state of Colorado. And we are pleased to have Phil Weiser with us here in the studio today. So thank you for being here.
It's great to be here, Ann.
So why you and why should Colorado have a Democratic Attorney General?
The role of the Attorney General is the lawyer for the people of Colorado. And my life's been about public service. I've not run for office before. This is my first time. I believe we need a lawyer who's going to represent the people of Colorado to protect our democracy, to stand up for people, and also to protect our land, air, and water. This job is critical. It's a job that if you look around the country, you see a lot of state AGs who are standing up for important values. When you have a dysfunctional legislature in Washington, you've got executive overreach, the Attorney Generals can play a key role, and this is something I want to do here in Colorado.
So, as we mentioned, your win over Joseph Salazar was a squeaker. So, what did you take from that when you know you were just a few thousand votes apart?
Salazar is a beloved name in Colorado politics, and Weiser is a great name for puns. And we talked about our message. We want a stronger, a fair, and a wiser Attorney General. We need someone here who's an innovator, who doesn't play political games, who works on solving problems. I got that message out, and I was able to win, even though earlier polls showed me 30 points behind. When I went to the state assembly, we won decisively. People got to know me. We went to the primary electorate. I didn't win quite as decisively, but we won, and we're on to the general election.
So, but what do you take from that when you know that it was that close, that there were all those who did not vote for you?
I talked to people, and some people who said they voted for Joe Salazar said they had a lot of respect for the Salazar family, for Joe. It wasn't a knock on me. I think people had a good choice to make, and what I would look at is the opposite side of the coin, which is almost 600,000 people voted for Attorney General on the Democratic side. Close to 400,000 voted for Republicans for Attorney General, or one Republican. That's a 200,000 vote gap. We on the Democratic side have a lot of enthusiasm because people believe in our message, and I believe we'll carry that momentum forward.
You're specifically talking about George Brockler, who is an experienced prosecutor. According to a June Westward article, you've only ever been involved in 7 court cases since passing the bar. So how does that qualify you to be the Attorney General?
There are a couple points here. First off, that's counsel of record when you're on the actual case, as opposed to when you're working at the Justice Department overseeing cases that maybe don't get filed. I've worked under 2 different administrations in the Justice Department overseeing cases, complex antitrust cases. I've also litigated cases on my own. I've also handled matters like contract negotiation or regulations. The Attorney General's office does a lot of different areas of legal practice. I've got a background in all of them. Most of all, and let me underscore, we need a leader in this office. We need an innovator. I was the dean of CU Law School, establishing a real record of progress during a difficult time for law schools. That's the spirit I'll bring to our Attorney General's office.
Let's talk about some of the issues, because we've seen Colorado issues that don't necessarily line up with the federal government. So where do you stand on immigration, for example?
I come to this as someone who is a child of an immigrant. My mom came to this country in 1951 after she survived and was born in a concentration camp in Nazi Germany. So being a refugee is not an abstraction to me. That was my mom. When we see what's happening on the border, separating families, it's wrong, it's illegal. I would stand up against it. When we see what's happening to dreamers being played as political pawns, it's wrong. I'd stand up for the dreamers.
Would you have joined the 17 other states that are suing the federal government over the separation policies?
Yes, I would.
Where do you stand, for example, on marijuana? That's another issue that we've been at odds with the federal government.
I want to be Attorney General to protect us here in Colorado, solving problems our way. I'm proud of us, a pioneer for the whole country, legalizing marijuana and saying we're not going to put people in jail or prison for being a marijuana user. We're going to treat it as a public health issue. We're going to tax it. We're using that tax revenue in Pueblo for college scholarships, in Eagle County for mental health. We've got to protect that. I'll stand up against the federal government to do just that.
Let's talk about the death penalty. Where do you stand with that? I mean, it is the rule of law here.
It's the rule of law. So first off, if there's death penalty cases, the Attorney General's office doesn't handle the frontline prosecutions. It handles the appeals. I would handle those appeals. It's the law. I would defend and enforce the law. If the legislature turned to me and said, should we have a death penalty? My view is it's very expensive. George Rockler spent between $5 and $10 million on the Aurora shooting case to get the same result that was offered initially. And the jury didn't want to give the death penalty. So how much money we're spending that we could spend on education, juries don't want to give the death penalty. I would recommend that our legislature get rid of it, but if we keep it, I'll enforce the law.
Are there any decisions Cynthia Kaufman has made that you take issue with or that you would change?
How much time do you have, Ann?
You have about a minute.
All right, so quickly, she has refused to defend the Dreamers. She's refused to take on issues on the Scott Pruitt agenda that threaten clean air, clean water, public lands. Cynthia Kaufman has sued Boulder County when they were working on an oil and gas ordinance to protect the population rather than collaborate with them. She's been at odds with our governor on a range of issues. We need to be problem solvers. We need to be innovators, and she has been a politician. She had a political agenda, and that's wrong.
So in less than 30 seconds, what should Colorado know about you?
People need to know that I'm someone who's been about service my whole life. I started my career here in Colorado clerking for Judge David E. Bell. I got to work in the Supreme Court for Justice Byron White and Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I've worked in the Justice Department. I've been Dean of CU Law School. And my true north is how do we help people? How do we solve problems working together? We've got hard issues, the opioid epidemic, rising healthcare costs, our democracy. We need to work together. That's the kind of Attorney General I'll be.
Phil Weiser, thank you so much for spending time with us today.
My
Appreciate
pleasure,
it.
Thank you.
Back in a moment.